Welcome back. Episode 2 of the Dubbtape podcast. I'm your host, Supreme Poobah Supreme, and my co-host,
Ruby Divine. I'm sorry, start over.
The Divine Enchantress, Ruby Craft. Don't mind us. We're just here.
Listen.
And, life is just lifing today. A lot of traffic out there. We just came out of that. I think the Ghostbusters saved us last week because the skies were orange and shit. And, we didn't know what was going on. Well, we knew what was going on, but a part of me doesn't believe it. Like Canadian mist from the fires that came over. And then we had some other shit going on down there by Six Flags. And it was just a combination of shit that fucked up the air quality, and people was just fucked up. Schools was letting out, businesses was closing early because, fucking Zool was coming or some shit like that. But the Ghostbusters saved us, so shouts to them. Yeah, man, this is episode 2, podcasting live from the Zero Gravity Room. I don't think I mentioned that last time.
No, you didn't.
This is definitely the Zero Gravity Room. How's your day? We're going to start off like that. I always got to ask how the day went before we get into shit.
The day was long.
Yeah?
Yeah, the day was very long. So, again, with the toxic work environment, so I'm trying to alleviate that for certain people. I had my backup person come down and help me today.
For those who don't know, last episode was about workplace toxicity. Check it out.
Right. So, just doing what you got to do to maintain and make sure you get your ass to work on time.
Make sure you get your ass to work on time. Just get up and do something, period.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, I think that's the underlying rule for everybody. You got to get up, get out and do something. Get something. Like the Outkast song.
Right.
So today we got a topic and we discussed it last week and thought it would be pretty interesting to bring to you folks. Don't forget, no, you can't see our faces and stuff like that, but if you check out the script and everything and you want to kind of like chime in, hit the comments or even email us directly, that's going to be up in the description as well. So check that out. But we were talking about, because we're both adults, clearly, and, they consider us millennials, which is kind of it's not new to me, but, I'm hearing it more and more often than, we're all broken down by the decade. That's how I go, by the decade and all of that jazz. So, we're millennials, and I think we're a little different. So went down the rabbit hole and, kind of looked up the word and started checking out the different names for the different decades, and we are the millennials.
Right.
I think you have a little bit more understanding on the term, but millennial adulting because we special. Straight up.
Right.
Like millennial adulting because it's different. It's different. It was something that I was looking up earlier, trying to just pull up some topics and kind of like compare and contrast, because there's a lot of stuff that the masses consider important to us millennials, and it might be a situation of where you're from, how you come up, financial situations. Everybody got different issues, but as I'm looking at some of these things, I kind of, it's not, all these things aren't that important to me, but I beg to differ. And I'm sure the crafty one over here has something to say, and I don't want to keep talking and rambling on the mic. I'm sorry.
Well, also certain things you have to consider with a millennial is, like you said, how you're brought up. My parents are Gen X.
Right.
Your parents are boomers.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely going to be a difference there in how you're brought up and what's important to you. Like, my parents were a little more hip to it, so I wasn't allowed to get away with a bunch of shit. You know what I mean?
Wait a minute, your parents are Generation X?
My parents are Generation X. My mom had me when she was 15. So my mother is Generation X. My grandmother is a boomer.
Okay. Oh, okay. And for all those who don't know, Gen X is those born between 1965 and 1981.
Right.
So, okay, that makes sense now because I'm like, wait, ain't our parents the same age?
No, my mom is in her 50s. My parents are in their 50s. So
okay, yeah.
So it's definitely a difference. Like I couldn't get away with certain stuff that you probably got away with.
I didn't get away with shit. I really didn't. It was, and our grandparents, we talked about this too. Our grandparents were like, my grandparents were the silent generation, I think
right?
They called it, which is like their characteristics is like stone cold. It's like,
right.
Kids would be seen and not heard,
right?
Thing, and it's like this is some scary shit. So it's like my grandparents are were super duper strict in comparison to my parents, but my parents are still pretty strict too. So it's like, but it was you saw the leniency in the generations,
right?
You know what I mean? So, and then I guess that kind of trickles down to us, where it's like, we both have kids, and one of the things that I was watching the other day involved like Blueface and his kid in the sneaker store and all of that, and I think they labeled it like soft parenting or something like that. And I was just like, what is that?
Soft parenting? So the way you and I were brought up, you fuck around, you find out. Hard head make a soft ass. We got our asses beat.
That's more like it. Before child abuse and
right. Before it was deemed child abuse, it was okay to hit your kids.
And before diapers got involved in what they call them now, the child protective CPS.
Yeah, CPS.
All that jazz.
Well, CPS is universally across the U.S. It's just everybody has a different name for it.
I ain't heard of them until after the pandemic. So straight up.
CPS is universal. It's just every place calls it something different. So for us, it's DIFAS. For somebody else, it's called something else.
Well, it makes sense that it's Child Protective Services, but that's
right.
I think we're the generation that kind of learned how to maneuver around that. I never did that shit because I was, I think our generation was definitely a little bit more afraid of the repercussions that we got from our parents. As baby boomers, Gen X, whatever the case was, our parents are still very swift and
right.
They can get around those questions and stuff like that. And then, when your mom lip got real tight after somebody left, or before you went into the store, it was just like you just saw it forming, and it was like, yeah, you gonna have to just sit down and take it because you fucked up,
right? Or with us, if you got in trouble somewhere else and your parents found out about it,
right or wrong,
you got in trouble with the person that was there, and then you got in trouble with your parents, And if your mom got to you first, your mom will kick your ass. And then when your father got home, your father kicked your ass too. You got 3 ass kickings if you fucked around in public.
They tag team, and now they tag team the shit out of you. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I don't really like, because I think, everything that we kind of came up with as far as like being millennials, it still sounds weird coming from my mouth, like being millennials. Like I don't like titles. All that stuff that we went through growing up kind of made things. It molded us. It built character. Like I feel bullies build character because that's your first test of like, the world without your parents.
Right.
So it's like.
So what we're trying to do nowadays, we're trying to eliminate bullying because we see how it affects kids because we remember how it affected us.
Right.
And then to also go with that, we're also teaching our kids to set boundaries. So once you set a boundary, if you do happen to come across a bully, you know where your limit is. You set the boundary. Hey, I don't like that. Don't touch me. XYZ. They don't listen. And then they want to continue to bully. We're the generation that says, hey, not
going to take too much more of this.
Right. Right. If they lay a hand on you, rock they shit. Well, that's it. You have the right to defend yourself.
It was always explained to me more like, you never let them get within a certain space And then you also never you don't let nobody touch your face.
Right.
You don't let nobody spit on you and stuff like that.
Right.
Like,
You maintain a bubble.
Yeah.
Once they break that bubble, you are now a threat to me. I have the right to go off.
Which is like a contradiction because like school's always been like, well, you shouldn't be fighting in school, and this, that, and the third. But it's like, you're not respecting my space. Like, this is what I was taught at home. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I was taught at home, and I don't like it.
Right.
So it's like, why, I'm not saying that school should have like underground fight clubs or nothing like that.
There was a teacher that recently got arrested for that.
Really?
Yeah. There was a teacher, she recently got arrested because come to find out she was arranging a fight club with second graders.
Second graders.
She was like a substitute teacher or something.
Yeah.
It was very recent. She had a second grade fight club.
You believe that? A bunch of kids in the basement by the janitor's office?
No, it was in the classroom. It was in the classroom, and it would be like, okay,
these kids with their shirts off in a circle.
So the way she did it was, all right, the two of y'all got beef. All right, y'all gonna duke it out right here in the class. Like
second grade.
Maybe it was a little older, but I'm pretty sure it was second grade.
Yeah, I think second grade is a little bit too young to be, because at that point you're still being molded and guided,
right?
To do those like right and wrong decisions and stuff like that. So I don't really think second grade. I feel like you start getting into stuff like that
around fifth grade.
Yeah, like you get to like,
and maybe it was fifth grade, but
second grade sounds wild. But kids is wild nowadays.
They are wild.
You know what I'm saying? So,
did you see the student that pepper sprayed the teacher for taking her phone? And apparently, like, that wasn't the teacher's first time taking somebody's phone. The previous time he took somebody's phone, like, the kid hit him. The kid swung on him. It was a white kid that swung on him. And so I don't think anything happened to the white kid. And then it didn't become news until the black girl pepper sprayed him in the face for her phone.
Ain't that some shit? And
I think they called the cops on the black girl.
Because she's a threat.
She was a threat, apparently.
Yeah, man, kids nowadays, some of these kids and all of this wild shit. Now, granted, I think we're the generation that was we ushered in like a lot of the craziness, like school shootings and shit like that, because unfortunately, I think it was our generation that was Columbine and all of that, and then the college shootings, and it's just like a snowball effect after that, and that's wild shit too. But maybe they got their ass beat too much, too bad, or maybe they ain't get their ass beat enough. But again, how you come up? Well,
that really boils down to, so they wasn't getting in trouble at home.
No,
they weren't getting discipline at home. And I'm sure the parents were afraid of the kids. Remember back in the day on Maury, these parents would bring their kids in and they're like, I'm afraid of my kid because she called me a bitch and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I think a lot of those parents, the parents of these shooters, I think they're afraid of their kids.
Or they just don't know.
They don't know. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, if you're an active parent, how much is going to really slip by you if you're an active parent? And when I say active, I mean, you sit your kid down. How was your day? You let them talk their feelings out. How are we going to go about this? X, Y, Z, A, B, C. That's what I mean. And if you're not doing that with your kid, then you're not going to know what they're going through.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of times, unfortunately, there really just wasn't any time for that, right? Because go figure, especially like, I know in my household, dinner was made and, you kind of did. The only time we really sat at the table and talked and bugged out and laughed and did was like holidays and stuff like that. Or, every once in a while, my dad or my mom would be like, all right, everybody come to the kitchen table. We're going to sit down and eat. It wasn't all the time, though.
Right.
And why is that? Because...
And so, see, I didn't grow up with holidays. So my mom made it a weekly thing. So it would be Sunday,
usually, yeah.
Sunday dinner. And we would all have to sit in the dining room, TV off.
Yeah.
How was your week? I didn't see you all week, or whatever the case is. What did you think about the church? What did you think about the church meeting today? What did you learn from it? So it would go from there, and then it'd be like, all right, well, this was my week or whatever.
And that's the crazy part because, and granted, shouts to your folks because at least they made that effort and schedule to have it weekly.
Right.
You know what I mean? As opposed to like every once in a while or not at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because in my situation, like my dad worked all the time.
Right.
All the time. So, and he cooked. So it was like, he's probably too tired to just be like, hey,
yeah,
everybody come on in here. I just worked 17 jobs and this, and my mom, she wasn't well, when I was younger. So it was like, she stayed in bed a lot. So it's a lot of different components to that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
As to why. But I think one of the main ones is like, our parents worked a lot.
Right.
So and then they had like crazy jobs. It's like, I think that's one of the things as millennials that we really, and I don't think there's nothing wrong with, we don't want to work like that.
Right. We don't want we don't want to work like that, but we do. So, because the way the economy is set up. So when we were growing up, it was the start of you needing two incomes.
Right.
It was the start of it because I still knew plenty of people, their parents, their mom was still a stay-at-home mom. Mm-hmm. I knew plenty of people. Do you know how many people I know that's a stay-at-home mom now?
Probably like 3.
0. I don't know. Okay. I don't know a single stay-at-home mom.
But you can't.
Period. Also, I don't have a lot of friends, so you can't go by me. Well, but I know
one woman who's a stay-at-home mom, but it's like, and then now I was having this conversation.
No, a woman our age that's a stay-at-home mom?
She ain't too far from our age.
Okay.
Ain't too far from our age, but, it's still kind of like, wow, like, that's a rarity.
Right. It is a rarity because you really have to make some bread just to make ends meet.
You got to make a lot of money in order for one person to be able to stay home. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And at least 6 figures.
Yeah, at least. And then, I think a couple of years ago, I think they said out here anyway, the average cost to raise or to maintain a family was like $45,000. And it's like
a year?
A year. Right. This is some years ago.
Right. It has to be.
Right.
It has to be because look, I'm just over that threshold and I'm a single parent and I'm still like
making just enough to be broke.
Right. I'm still toying with the idea. Should I go back out and start driving again? I'm still toying with it. So, but like both my parents worked. Mm-hmm. Both of my parents worked.
To this day?
No, my mother's retired. So, but my dad worked 16-hour shifts. Mm-hmm. My dad still works 16-hour shifts. He doesn't do it as often because he's older, he has seniority, and he can do that. Like He's been with the company like 35 years. So,
and you know what's crazy about that? Honestly, you work that long, you get with a company, and this wasn't very, unless it's a really, really big company and they ain't going nowhere, but you get with a company that's been around for like 10, 15 years, give or take, and you kind of work towards that goal. Right. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, yeah, we've just been acquired by whoever. Right. And your seniority goes out the window. Everybody starts from ground zero. Correct. And you could be right there. And then that happens. Absolutely. It's like, how you going to negotiate this with me? I done spent 10, 15 years working for this company. Blah. Again, these are millennial problems because think about it. Just like you said, your dad does whatever he does and he has seniority at his job. So it's like he'll come home and, that's a conversation at the dinner table. I just got promoted to this, which means this, and this. Right. Yay, congratulations, stuff like that. Right. That's happened to me like twice when I was working. And it was like the last job I had was damn near like, I want to say 10 years. And it was like, I held it for 10 years. I haven't not been working for 10 years.
No, I understood what you were saying.
I just wanted to clear it up.
But thank you for clarifying that for the audience.
Yeah, I just had to clear it up. It's like, I know what work is like, trust me. And it's like, yeah, you do this, you do that, you work here, you work there, you get this, and they promised you all of this stuff. And it's like, you believe in the company. You bite the bullet. All right, cool. Exactly. And then they get acquired. And it's like, well, what the fuck does that mean? Yeah. It's like, it means
half of y'all motherfuckers out of here.
Half of y'all out of here. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Because that's exactly what happened.
Big bank, take little bank.
Yeah.
You know, and those are millennial problems because.
Well, that's not just a millennial problem. That affects everybody that works there because that's what happened with my company. My company used to be Johnson and Johnson. Mm-hmm. Okay. Everybody that worked in this one building, it was part of Johnson and Johnson. Then,
just before you finish that, I was just saying it just happens more often now.
Well, yeah, it happens more often now because we are the main ones working now. This is our return to work,
right?
While Gen X is on their way to retirement, if they've been with the company long enough. So, but that affects everybody in the building. One lady I work with, she's a boomer, and this is the second acquirement that she is sitting through right now. Now, right now, we're not losing anything because it just started. But, well, it's not really an acquired. It's a merger. So
it's a merge, yeah. Acquisition, merge, whatever. Yeah. Acquisition, merger. I feel like Patrick Bateman and shit.
But
what are you into? Acquisitions and mergers?
No, thank you. No, thank you.
What did he? Well, you probably didn't see that movie. American Psycho, when a girl asked him in the club, what does he do? And in his mind, he said something like axe killings and murders.
Oh, no.
And then she was like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I heard about acquisitions and mergers. And I'm like, it's not what he said.
That's not what he said at all.
Run, bitch, run.
Right.
Like,
correct.
But, yeah, and I know somebody in the comments is going to clarify that for me because I know I fucked it up. He definitely said murders instead of mergers, but the first one, I just know he was like an axe killer as well. So we'll talk about that later in our episode of, movies that all millennials should have seen by now. Go. I needed my own applause for that. Thank you.
So, yeah, but what I was saying earlier is if you're an active parent checking in with your kids daily, there's no way that you're going to miss out on the signs that your kid is considering shooting up the school.
And I don't even think that was just on kids like us minds like that. Like, it's like, What are you watching? What do you watch? I'm not blaming nothing on video games because I had probably the same video games that they had, and I never once did I ever want to go to school and knock somebody's head up off their shoulder. Well, I mean, maybe, but I know I couldn't do it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But at the same time, though, like, maybe they don't have anybody around them to give them that reality check.
To reinforce it, like,
right.
Give you that split. Mm-hmm.
Because all you and I knew is somebody mess with us, you going to fight. Eventually. That's it.
Or you fight like, it's real easy because, and I think this is something that didn't happen a lot either. I know it happens in a lot of communities. It's like, hey, I had brothers. Right. So it was like, I wasn't necessarily used to fighting. And it's odd because I remember some kids was bothering me a couple of times they did. And I would come home and, like you said, your parents would see the signs. Like,
right. Your parents, they look at you, hey, how was your day? Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, what's wrong? Like, that don't feel right. This isn't my child.
Right.
Who did it and how we going to fix it?
Not even how we going to fix it because, like I said, I had brothers. So it was more like, I need you to go up to the school tomorrow.
Right.
Pick your little brother up. Walk him home and just see what happens.
Right.
All right, bet. Then he complicates that situation because it's him and three of his peoples.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's just the way it worked. But, and I didn't even like that feeling. I didn't like the feeling of having somebody else like backing me up or talking for me or anything like that.
Right.
Because I'm formulating my own plan, but that helped more than it hurt.
Right.
That I had brothers and stuff like that.
Exactly. But, and me, I'm the oldest. I didn't have that. So if I had a problem, I had to handle it myself.
You were the originator.
Exactly. I was the originator. Every once in a while, my mom would be on go, but that was normally once it came to other adults. But
right.
I definitely have stories on my mom being on go, on 100.
Our parents are like that, especially where they come from. So it's like, it's like that.
But, I mean, my little brother, he tried once, and it just ended up being the other way around. So like we were playing a game, and my brother didn't realize we were playing a game. So the person that was chasing me, my brother went after him, trying to defend me. But my brother was little. He was like 6 years old. This kid was like 16. 16-year-old flips my little brother. So
You
then
had to go after him.
So then I had to go after him.
Yeah. Because
I charged his ass so fast, pinned him against the wall.
Right. The oldest to protect the youngest.
Right. Like, because why did he get flipped over?
Right. Right.
But
bless his heart for trying to protect you, though. Right?
Yeah, but it was usually me trying to protect him, even though he got on my nerves, and a lot of times it was me protecting him from me because he didn't do shit but get on my nerves. So
that's what little brothers are supposed to do. At some point, all that cute shit goes out the window, and I think that's let
me tell you, that cute shit went out the window early.
Well,
early. As soon as he started walking, he was no longer cute.
Oh, wow.
As soon as he started walking.
That's terrible.
Period.
Once the legs start, they don't stop. So, but nah, I mean, I had that, right? Like older brothers and stuff like that. But I also had parents, like, a lot of kids back then would fake the funk. They never wanted to be where they were from. They put on a persona when they came to school, and sometimes that persona came home, and they ain't have. Some parents thought that shit was cute. My parents didn't think that shit was cute.
Right.
It was like, look, we letting you listen to rap and watch these movies. Know the line. That shit's a movie. That's music. If you can't differentiate the two, then I'm taking it away.
Right. And you don't need to be listening to it.
You don't need to be listening to it if you want to eat wrestling, all of that shit. This shit is on TV. It's fake.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And see, I didn't get that. So I didn't get that at all. It was automatically, no, you can't watch this. No, you can't listen to that. No, you can't do this. No, you can't do like wrestling. We was not allowed to watch wrestling.
That's crazy.
We was not allowed to watch wrestling. Not allowed to watch wrestling. Not allowed to listen to rap. I had to sneak to learn the juicy lyrics from Big E.
And that shit was everywhere.
It was everywhere.
And you just showed age, but okay, yeah.
Okay. So, like, I had to sneak for that shit. I had a friend, like, secretly dubbed me a copy of the Drew Hill CD.
Right.
So
Drew, and that's R&B, but you can listen to R&B?
I was, but it was, like, very select. And that's why, like, nowadays, if you, like scroll through my playlist on my phone, it's a huge mixture. And it's a lot of pop. It's mostly 90s R&B, a little bit of rock. Like it's just a little bit of everything.
And the rock was a little like when you really, I never forget it was a video and just talking about it. I remember, I don't know if it was Korn or whoever, it was a cartoon and the whole thing was following the trajectory of a bullet. And I think it went through all of this stuff throughout the whole song. It went through, leaves and trees and dodging people and all of this stuff, and nobody saw it. And at the end of the video, it hit a little girl in the head.
Oh.
I said, that's way more detrimental than, NWA niggas always into something video.
Right.
Like they robbed a liquor store. They ain't kill nobody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was like a lot of crazy stuff like that. But again, I think us as millennials, we understood the difference between
reality and fantasy.
And even TV. Like again, that shit, you check that shit at the door at my house. Like you can listen to it in the house, go in your room, listen to it, play all the video, play Max Payne, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, all of that stuff.
Yep.
You can play all of it, but just know it's a game.
Right.
You can watch this movie, just know it's a movie. This is not this house.
Right.
You can all of this stuff, just know the difference. And to get back to the Columbine guys and people like that and in that situation, it's like maybe they didn't have anybody.
Right. They didn't have anybody. Right. And then for them to go to school and get bullied because they're different, they think that's the only solution because they don't have that parental contact of somebody saying, this is how we handle things in society, XYZ, ABC, which is why us as millennial parents, we work extra hard to say, okay, you don't bully nobody. Don't let nobody bully you. Mm-hmm. And, this is how we're going to avoid bullying. You set a boundary. You set boundaries with everybody. It doesn't matter if it's an adult or a kid, because that's another thing. We grew up, we wasn't allowed to say shit to adults.
Right.
Your aunt Gertrude say, "Give me a hug." You better give her ass a hug.
Yeah, and
even if she was funky and smelling like mothballs, like, you know what I mean?
My parents understood. They would just say, "Go in the other room." Like, it would just if somebody was like that.
But if you said no, it's automatic disrespect.
I mean, yeah, it is. Like even now, when me and my ex-wife have very different parenting styles. I know my son recently got in trouble in school, and it's like she kind of just threw him to me, and I was like, well, that's fine. Did he win? You know what I'm saying? Because it was a fight,
right?
And I said, he was more afraid to come home and tell me what was going on, as opposed to like, kind of like, I don't think you should feel good, but it was like, you got into a fight, but you did everything that was, I was trying to burn into your mind. Like, you never be the bully.
Right.
Don't start, read the room, know that, well, I'm going to get that to his mother. Like, read the room and know when temperatures are too high and how to scale back. It's like, these are all little tactics and stuff like that.
Right.
The filter, if you will.
Right.
It's really not cool to have no filter.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So.
And the fight was the end result because.
Right. Because the kid had no filter.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So my son ended up packing him out. And I said, well.
Good job.
Yeah. I mean,
want some ice cream?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He wasn't on punishment for that. Because everybody, like, had the same story.
Right.
Like, they went to the bathroom, this, that, and the third. This kid did this. This kid did that. They tussled. That happened.
Right.
Boom. This the vice principal, teacher, he told me that, So I'm like, well, all right.
As long as the story is consistent.
The story was very consistent. And I said, well, good for you. Because the last thing that I want is for my son to feel, either one of them, to feel like they can't defend themselves.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I want them to be able to make that split decision.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that's another part, because a lot of parents, and millennial parents, I'm going to say, are very, very cool, like lenient with their kid when it comes to stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So,
because we remember what it was.
Yeah.
We're the generation that is trying to do things differently from our parents. We're trying to heal from it, because a lot of us, we're going to therapy now. We're saying, hey, this bothers me, this bothers me, this bothers me. And they're like, okay, well, this is generational. This is your upbringing. And all of these things are called trauma. And this is how you're responding to it. So
I'm probably the only person in the world in the class. Well, I know a few others. I don't do the therapy.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But even if you don't do the therapy, it's so common.
It is.
It is so commonplace that you basically have an idea of what's going to happen should you decide to go.
Yeah, everybody's talking. It's like a commercial. Everybody's talking about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? And they really are. It's like, that's, I'm digressing a little bit, and I'm actually going over for you people. But I will say this before we send our send-offs, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Once again, if you got a comment or if you got a story you want to tell, the email will be attached. And I ain't going to say it right now because I can't remember it. I've been drinking. And I'm not going to finish the thought because I forgot it that quickly. It's terrible, I know. But I want to thank everybody for joining us on the Dubbtape podcast, episode 2, where we kind of got into millennial adulting and some of the things that we did back then and some of the things that is going on now and how we're dealing with it. And I think the crafty one over here, Ruby, she summed it up pretty good by saying we're the generation that's trying to change the things that we came up through from our parents, because they're, whether it be Gen X or baby boomers, they kind of all, to me, had strong ties with the silent generation.
Right. Correct.
Which was children to be seen and not heard, and that's clearly not the case anymore.
Right. The email is dubbtapepodcast@gmail.com.
But it's like 2 B's.
Yes.
It's cool. It's real cool. Thank you for doing that, by the way.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. And signing off, it's Dubbtape Podcast episode 2. We'll see you next time.